And we are live. Pops, what time is it?
It's Chomp time.
Hello, one. Hello, all. Hopefully, most of you all out there are Gator fans. I am Mike. That is Pops. And this is the Chomp Time Podcast. This is episode one. Episode one is just titled Introducing Mike and Pops. Pops, you're looking good over there. I like your setup, Mr. Leak and Mr. Tebow in the background.
Just missing the other one, Mr. Spurrier, but I believe you have that one.
Yeah, I have Werfel. I don't have Spurrier.
Oh, okay.
So you might have Spurrier somewhere
I
hidden
must have it out in the garage then, in my other Gator,
Okay.
my Gator garage.
All right. So anyway, welcome to Chomp Time Podcast, the first ever episode. I'm Mike. That's Pops. We are going to talk about just a few things. Our history, our personal history with the Florida Gators, University of Florida, mostly Florida Gator football. We're going to go into the past of Gator program football. We're going to talk about the present, which is current in the last couple of years, and then we'll briefly go into the future, what we think the future holds for the Mighty Gators and their football program. Pops, are you ready?
I'm ready. Okay, so here.
Well, tell everybody your history with the Florida Gators. Go ahead.
Well, let me start with what really started me out as being a Gator fan. I'm going to show you this. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this all right?
Very, very nice. That's a Northwestern program from 1965, it looks like.
That is correct. September 18th. So here's the deal. I'm born and raised Evanston, Illinois, and anybody who knows anything about Evanston, Illinois, it's the home of Northwestern University, the only private university in the Big Ten. Go Cats. My dad was a big fan of Northwestern, and he had season tickets. So he only had two, so every once in a while I got thrown a ticket here and there. I was 14 years old, and my pops came to me, and he said, "Hey, you want to go to the game today?" I said, "Yeah, I do." So we go to the game. I'm waiting for the teams to come out, and all of a sudden I see this big, massive, green-looking thing. And I turned to my dad and I said, "What the hell is that?" He goes, "It's a Florida Gator." I said, "Florida Gator?" He goes, "Yeah, we're playing the Florida Gators. That's their mascot." I was just taken back by this figure, 14 years old, and I'm looking at this thing going up and down the sidelines, and I said, I'm gonna keep an eye on this guy here. So, as it turned out, the Florida Gators won the game. But I became a Gator fan based on that one game that I went to.
So you think that was the inception of your fandom towards the Gators?
Absolutely, no question about it.
And that was almost 60 years ago. Oh my goodness! Do you believe that you have a son that's 49?
Tomorrow. But you know, the interesting thing is when I opened up the program and I started looking through the program, it didn't even dawn on me. In 1965, the starting quarterback for the Florida Gators was a junior named Steve Spurrier. So I watched Spurrier without even knowing what the history was or anything else. And he was, as a junior, he was building his history.
Do you remember the score of that game?
I do not. I
don't either. Maybe in post I'll add it. What do you think? I mean, do you remember that being your pops being happy about a Northwestern victory? Was Northwestern good back then?
No, Northwestern was not. No. The Florida won the game, but I'm thinking it was like 30 to 31 to 14 or something like that. That was
okay. That's your guess. I have no idea. I'm not even going to put a guess. I'll say. It was lower scoring back then. I'll say 17 to 14 Gators. That's my prediction. Wow. And I'll look this up after the episode. So that started in roughly 1965 for you. And about 28 years later, is when I decided to go to the University of Florida. And that's when both of our love for that university really exploded. 1993 is when I got there. It is now 2024, so we're talking 31 years of living and dying and breathing, bleeding orange and blue. We mostly follow the football and the basketball programs, but of course, it's an everything school, right? So we follow
Every sport.
gymnastics. We follow
Baseball,
volleyball,
softball, swimming,
baseball,
track,
softball.
outstanding track for years and years and years.
Yeah, it was probably one of the best gifts I ever gave to you was to go to that school. Now I had applied,
Well, I paid
like
for
you said.
it.
Well, all your money's there, so that made it kind of an incentive for you to really cheer for them. But when I went there in '93, success followed almost immediately. 1994, that year, 93, 94 was the first year the men's basketball team went to the Final Four under Lon Kruger and Dimitri Hill and Andrew DeClerc and those guys.
The meat hook.
Craig Brown, the meat hook. And then, Spurrier was just hitting his stride then. And just a couple of years later, we won our first national title. So it was almost immediate success after I went there. You're welcome, Gator Nation, for me picking there. I had applied to two schools coming out of high school. Now, you had said I was born and raised in suburban Chicago. You were from Evanston. You moved up to the northwest suburbs to raise me and my sister, Amy. Amy is 2 years older than me, and she started the migration down to Florida. She went to South Florida when she graduated high school. And then me being the baby, when I was about to graduate high school, I knew that there was a huge chance of you guys moving down there. And at the time, I was a big Florida State guy. I loved the Seminoles. So we actually went down and visited Florida State. And
How did that work out?
Very disappointing visit. We go there, they put like 4 or 5 of us potential students in a minivan with all our parents. And they call it the drunk bus. And that's great for the parents. And they just cart us around this okay-looking campus. They mentioned the circus. They had a great program for the circus. They mentioned that about
Clown
10 times.
University.
This Clown University. And the stadium was just a bunch of pillars. There wasn't – it hadn't been upgraded. No bricks, none of that. And I was disappointed. And I remember we stopped at a bookstore, a little shitty bookstore in Tallahassee, and I bought a Florida State hat. And I loved the way it looked, but surprisingly so, it did not fit. It never fit right. Just a little omen.
There you go.
A little foreshadowing, if you will. The hat didn't fit right. So you and Mom could see my frustration in the car directly afterward the visit. And my mom said something like, well, Gainesville's just a few hours away. That's University of Florida. I mean, there's supposed to be a good school there. You want to check that out? I'm like, I guess, because I was just so disappointed. And our drive into Gainesville, if you remember, the first thing you see, we got off on a different exit, and the University Drive is what we got off on. And the first thing you see is the swamp, this gorgeous,
Griffin
huge, beautiful Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, red brick everywhere. Welcome to the University of Florida. And it was from then on I was in love. So I went there. I mean, I had applied to Indiana University, which still has a place in my heart, and UF. And Indiana accepted me right away. I was on a waiting list at UF. And right when I was about to start getting my plans for IU, I got the letter saying I was accepted. So that was all good stuff. So that's pretty much our history. So for the last 31 years or so, we have been heavily involved in all things Florida, especially the football program. Go Gators. So let's go into the past real quick. The past, University of Florida football program, 3-time national champions. 1996, I said, was our first. 2006 and 2008 was the second and the third. We have 8 official SEC titles in football: 91, 93, 94, 95, 96, 2000, 2006, and 2008. And then we have 3 Heisman winners. Spurrier in 1966. He then coached Danny Werfel 30 years later in 1996 to a Heisman Trophy. And Timmy Tebow got one in 2007. Hopefully we got one on the way for either Graham Mertz and or DJ Lagway. What are your thoughts about the past Gator football?
Well, I think what happened was Spurrier changed the entire concept of football in the SEC. If the SEC was always a run offense, and when Spurrier came, it became the fun and gun, and pretty much everybody was kind of copying Spurrier because he had a run of 5 consecutive SEC championships. We should have had one in 1990. But they they're saying that we were on suspension, so that's why we couldn't count that, but we counted anyway because we had the best record. But that's what changed football in the SEC was Steve Spurrier, one way or another.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Now, he did win 4 in a row. It was 93, 94, 95, 96. 90 would have been, if they included 90, I think he was still there. That would have been like 6 out of 7. But he won 4 in a row officially, 93, 94, 95, 96. Can you imagine being a freshman that stayed all 4 years and you won the SEC all 4 of those years?
Lots of jewelry. Else, huh? Lots of jewelry.
Lots of jewelry. The SEC was established, the conference was established in 1932, and Florida was one of the initial members. I just want to go over a bunch of old Florida alumni players. When I hear their name, I immediately think of Florida, and then you can add some as well. Rex Grossman is one of my favorite Gators of all time. Probably would have won the Heisman in 2001 had we played Tennessee when we usually play them, and or there was a penalty called on that last 2-point conversion attempt. Emmitt Smith and Jack Youngblood are the only 2 Gators in the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is surprising. We got more on the way. Lomas Brown should probably be in the NFL Hall of Fame. Trace Armstrong, Wilbur Marshall, Brad Culpepper, and get a little bit more recent with Ike Hilliard, Rydell Anthony, Jaquez Green. Who else you got?
2 bouncy brothers.
Yeah, Yep, I think Marquise will be in the Hall of Fame for sure.
For sure,
when he's eligible. He was like an 8-time Pro Bowler, 8-time first team All Pro. So Percy Harvin, can't forget about him. Kevin Carter, I love big time Alex Brown. Kyle Pitts, the highest ever drafted tight end at number 4 overall in the history of the NFL draft. Chris Collinsworth has made quite a name for himself. Chris Doering, another Gator receiver that started as a walk-on and set SEC records receiving. He's on the SEC network, a good announcer. Wes Chandler, Carlos Alvarez, Eric Rett. I said that. So, yeah, those are some of our past. The list goes on and on. If we missed you, don't worry. Just text me and we'll get you in on the next episode.
There's a lot of great college Gator players, and we traditionally are one of the top 5 teams in the NFL with the number of Gators on rosters of the teams. So even though some of our Gators that were phenomenal in college just became good players in the NFL, we do have our share of great players. It's just that it's tough in the NFL.
We do, and I think those times are coming. We were DBU for a while because we would have a DB going in the first round, at least one for every year or every other year for a while, and a few of those guys didn't pan out. I thought we were wide receiver U for a while when we had Jaquez and Ike and Taylor Jacobs and Travis Taylor and all those guys. So we've certainly had our success, but I think it's coming. There's been a lull in overall NFL talent, I guess, coming from the Gators in the last couple years, but it's coming. We've got 2024 we're going to go into right now, the present. Let's go into the present. I love what Napier has assembled for the 2024 season. We have a bunch of NFL talent on the team currently. Now, how that plays out, we shall see. But your thoughts heading into 2024 with Billy Napier still at the helm?
Well, a little bit about Billy Napier, just to check with this guy. This is his 4th season, I believe.
It's his 3rd season, sir.
I'm sorry.
Third season with the Gators.
3rd season with the Gators. He's had a phenomenal career. He had a tremendous career at Louisiana Tech.
Louisiana.
What did I say?
You said Louisiana Tech.
Oh, I meant.
Don't worry. Hey, for everybody out there, there will be a lot of Mike correcting Pops throughout this entire podcast. So go ahead. So, yeah, Louisiana, go ahead.
Louisiana. He brought some players with him. They've panned out very well. He's a pretty good recruiter. The difference today and I'm saying pretty good because we don't get enough of the great talent that we should be getting. I know that, Clemson gets their share, Ohio State gets their share, Alabama, Georgia, but we should get our fair share too, and for some reason we just haven't been getting enough of the top players. But today it's a different game. Today it's all about the portal. So, you can be a great recruiter, okay, but there's a lot of talent in the portal, and the kids in high school that are threes, they're going to have a tough time because there's 1,000 players in the portal, and all these guys have experience, and coaches are looking for experience, are looking for everything right now. The difference again in college football right now in the present is there's not a redshirt time anymore. I mean, these players will, if they don't play, they go into the portal. They're out in 3 years. That's the earliest they can get out. So you can't redshirt anymore because you don't know what this guy's going to do. So it's a whole different ballgame. But the portal has become very, very important.
So, yeah, for sure. A couple things about Napier. So he was a high school quarterback in Georgia. He was All-State in 97. He didn't have any scholarship offers, ended up going to Furman and was the starting quarterback at Furman junior and senior years. Junior year, he led them to the Division II national title game, which they lost to Montana 13-6. He did not try the NFL waters. He went straight into assistant coaching, graduate assistant at Clemson. He had two stops at Alabama. He followed McElwain to Colorado State for a cup of coffee. He was at Florida State under Jimbo Fisher for less than a month because Alabama lured him back there with Nick Saban. Had a couple national titles under Saban on his staff. And his final stop before being a head coach was Arizona State, where he was an offense coordinator under Todd Graham, who was fired. Herm Edwards comes in. Herm Edwards offered him the same job, offense coordinator, to stay. And that's when he was hired by Louisiana to be the head coach, where he was 40-12 in 4 years there, including 27-5 in conference. They were the Sun Belt Conference. He had three consecutive 10-plus win seasons at Louisiana, and twice they finished in the AP top 25 poll at Louisiana. So he came in with a good resume. Now, it is not translated to UF. You said he was a pretty good recruiter. I think he's okay at recruiting. Having said that, this team he's assembled this year has two guys, especially one. DJ Lagway is a recruit, a 5-star QB. A lot of recruiting services had him as the number one QB coming out. And he does not, from what I can tell, he had no ties to University of Florida. He's from Texas, and he committed to us basically for a year, and he stayed committed. There was some, talk about him going other places. Everyone was hot on his trail after the senior year he put up in high school, but he stayed with us. He has been more ballyhooed, hyped up than any recruit we've had since probably either Tim Tebow or Percy Harvin. So he got one, and LJ McRae is not too far behind. So he has gotten some guys. Hope abounds. Hope abounds. Okay, but let me just say real quickly, it has not translated to his career in UF yet. He's been here for 2 years. He's going into his third year. In 2022, we were 6-7, 3-5 in conference. The offense, this is according to CFBstats.com, the offense at the end of the year was 46th out of 130. Not horrible, but not great. The defense was 69th out of 130. Need some improvement there. Then the next year, which was last year, 2023, we were 5-7, no bowl game, 3-5 in conference again. Offense was 47th, so pretty much the same. The defense was 71st, pretty much the same. He's been 2-10 in away games, neutral sites, 2-10 as a Gator head coach, 9-4 at home in the Swamp as a Gator coach. So those are all stats that need improving.
So here's the deal. Like you said, he's in his third year. This guy has a staff of over 80 people. They gave him everything he wanted. The new facilities that we have, we've upgraded, the Heaven Center, everything that this guy wanted, he's gotten. Now listen, we've had two coaches prior to this guy, okay, actually three, that had winning records that we got rid of. This guy hasn't had a winning record yet in a single season, let alone his time here in Florida. This is it. I know there's Gator fans out there that say, he should be given 4 years. Absolutely not. If this guy can't win this year, and I don't care how tough the schedule is, we're the Florida Gators. We fire coaches with less than what this guy has done. It's time this guy has got to put it together. Now, personally, I think the guy's a good guy. For everything that I've read, this guy's a good guy. He's got a lot of talent, okay? but he's got to use it properly, okay? These kids today, 18, 19 years old, they want to win. And if we don't win this year, I don't care about the schedule. If we don't win, there'll be a mass exodus of the top talent.
Yes.
And we'll be right back where we were before.
Yes. And hopefully we get a lot of viewers on this Chomp Time podcast initially, and we keep building. But this is going to be a lot of disagreeing. Me and Pops disagree on a lot of things. We are on the same page here, which is strange. I think this is make or break for Billy Napier. I've recently joined Facebook Gator Nation groups, and the vast majority of the guys are saying he deserves a fourth year. I'm like, no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. We just spent millions and millions and millions of dollars to get our facilities not only up to par with all the other schools. We are right at the top of the list now, maybe aside from Oregon, who's got Phil Knight and Nike and that Nike money, and aside from maybe Alabama. But we're right at the top of facilities and all the flash and all the bling. All the bells and whistles are there. We've been waiting for that for years. And he has not. Now he got DJ Lagway and he got LJ McCray, got Aaron Childs, a bunch of other guys. Okay. So maybe it's coming. But initially he did not,
Well, if you see those two jerseys behind me, okay, very significant today's because, when Chris Leak was running the offense for our second national title, Tim Tebow was a freshman. He came in and they had packages for Tim Tebow. Well, we're going to have the same thing this year with Mertz as the starter.
I hope
now
so.
Now you have DJ. What doesn't matter if we like the guy or not. The thing is, he's got to perform. This coach has got to make sure this team performs at the highest levels. And I know we have this conversation all the time, you and I, about preseason rankings. I understand preseason rankings are somebody's, looking into the future. Yeah. But in vast majority of times, the top 20 teams are somewhere in that mix of the top 20 teams. They might not be, number one might be 10 or whatever. But the schedule we have right now, 8 of those 12 games, those 8 teams are in the top 20. So we'll see how this works out.
And maybe one or two. Yeah, maybe one or two are overrated. Florida State, I'm looking at you, but the rest of them are pretty good. It's going to be a very difficult. It's going to be a very difficult road. But if we go like 4-8 or something like that, or somehow 3-9, even 5-7,
gone.
I think he's gone. That would be 3 straight losing seasons at Florida. I am not asking us to be in the playoffs. I'm just looking for 7-5 or better. Now, hope abounds. I think my prediction for this year, and I think you're right with me, I think we're going to be 8-4. But it all, for me, depends on the first 5 games. We have to find a way. He has got to find a way logistically, schematically, in-game decisions, in-game plays. He's got to be a great in-game coach to get us to 4-1 or 5-0 to start, because there's a gauntlet coming up after that. The final 7 games, it is a murderer's row of loaded rosters, SEC rosters on the road at Texas. It's going to be really hard.
I'm right with you. I got us at 8-4, and if you look at the schedule, we're home against Miami first game, home against Samford, home against Texas A&M. We're away in Mississippi. We're home at UCF. So here, the first 5 games, 4 of them are at home. We can't. There's no way possible we can be less than 4-1. That's the least we can be is 4-1.
And if we're 3-2,
we're not gonna.
That's
we're
iffy,
not gonna.
But let me just say this. If we finish at 7-5 and 4 of those losses are within 1 score, then Gators are trending up. And I think
agree.
Napier stays. I think he retains most of our talent. I think the current 40th ranked 2025 recruiting class gets better. We get into the top 20 if we go 7-5. Anything 7-5 or better, and the vast majority of our losses are close games. Anything other than that, if he goes 6-6, if he goes 5-7, if he goes 4-8, and we're blown out in a couple games, he's gone, and he rightfully should be. And unfortunately, the players that he brought in, the good ones, will probably go too, and not follow him, but just go to the portal with the immediate transfer. And I would love for them to stay and fight through it. But in this day and age, the reality is they want to play for winners, and he has brought in great guys. We have stayed away from trouble off the field. A lot of talented teams have a problem with that. You're seeing it with Georgia. You saw it with the Florida teams back in the Urban Meyer days. I want it all. You want it all. We all want it all. We want great guys to root for and winning teams. It doesn't necessarily always happen like that, but Napier's trying to do that.
And talking about the present, right now we're in the toughest league in college football. Mm-hmm. When you have the SEC, which has predominantly been the best for the last decade or so, and now you add Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, it's like, oh my God, there's no easy weeks. I mean, the great teams, the teams that have been very, very successful in the year past here, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, they're going to have their hands full playing against these teams. This year we don't play Vanderbilt. We don't play South Carolina. We're playing Ole Miss. We're playing Texas A&M. We're playing Texas. We have one hell of a schedule. But here's the deal.
Yes.
We're Florida Gators. We need to get back to what we know, and that's winning, okay? Spurrier changed the entire landscape of football in the SEC and changed the Florida Gators. We need to get back to that and now.
That kind of dominance for sure. So when I say 7-5, I'm saying 7-5 is a successful season. I never thought I would say that in the 90s for Florida Gators or even the 2000s in Florida Gators. 7-5, we would be devastated. But given the last 2 years, given what has happened with coaching, whether they left the cupboards bare or not, which I don't think they did, but some people think they did, 7-5 this year would be a successful season for a multitude of reasons. But the one I'm going to name right now is the media has been all over. Social media has been all over the fact that this is one of the toughest schedules on paper any college football team has ever had. So if you find a way to go 7-5 or better and stay in the vast majority of your losses, you're going to be trending up. You're going to retain those guys. And if you somehow get in the, like I said, you get on a roll at the beginning of the year, we're not going to go undefeated with this schedule. Impossible. I don't think an Alabama team at their peak would go undefeated in this schedule. But if we go 4-1, 5-0 to start, there is a chance that we ride that momentum to like a 9-3 record and college football playoff talk. I'm not going to get crazy, but I think that the ceiling for this team is 9-3. I think the floor is pretty low because it's such momentum could really, really help us. It could really hurt us.
One of the things that we all talk about, and it happens every year, is injuries. And you gotta have enough backups because it's next man up. But when your superstars go down, or your main player goes down, it's a tough road back. So we need to not only be very, very good on the field, we also need to make sure these guys stay healthy. There's freak injuries.
You know what? I think
there's nothing to do with it.
No doubt about it. I think I will once again piggyback on what I said earlier. I really, as much as I have been down on Napier, the bowl game, his first year bowl game was an embarrassment. 30-3 against Oregon State. I don't care how many guys left. I don't care how many guys opted out. It was an embarrassment.
And we had to kick a field goal with no time remaining to keep that record intact that we have right now. We're the longest team scoring.
We have not been shut out since what year, Pops?
1986.
Wrong. It's 1988. The last time we were shut out was October 29th, 1988. That's the longest.
Auburn, 17-0.
16-0 Auburn. That was close, very close. But we obviously I loved keeping that streak alive, but that game just itself was embarrassing. So I have not really liked him that much. He's had the Utah his first initial game as head coach. I thought we had a guy That was a great game. We upset a better Utah team.
That was
at
an
home.
interception in the end zone at the end of the game that helped us.
Yes, but he has not excited me with his play calling, his game coaching. But I will say again, this roster he has assembled with the transfers in, with the studs he has gotten from high school, we are deep at every position. Montrell Johnson, our starting running back, who is a preseason All-SEC player, had some kind of injury, and he's questionable for week 1. We have 4 other really good running backs.
Solid.
We have Webb. We have Jacoby Jackson. We have Jaden Baugh. We have a guy named Carroll. We have 4 other really good running backs. We have like 6 incredible wide receivers, including
Wilson
2 transfers in that have already played.
Outstanding year. Outstanding year.
Yeah, we've got a really good tight end. Our offensive line has a couple of solid returners. Our defense, he brought in a safety from Washington, Turner, I believe, who is a proven guy. A wide receiver from Wisconsin that actually played with Mertz at Wisconsin. He's a proven guy. A wide receiver from Arizona State who is a proven guy. To go along with the bevy of guys we have that are elite speed, elite route runners. The program he has put together is very, very good on paper, but it's
guy Boardingham is at tight end. He's showed me something last year, and I think he's really going to have a tremendous year this year.
And he's got a couple of young guys, a true freshman that's really good too. So, but it has to translate to wins in 2024. If we do not win and we get blown out a couple games, that roster that you have put together in these 3 years, I hope it doesn't. But the reality is it'll probably fall apart.
Gone.
And currently, you can say whatever you want about where we are currently in the recruiting rankings, if it matters or not. Like last year at this time, we were number 3, and we finished 20. Right now, we're number 40. So could we go up to top 5 if we have a huge year? Well, if we don't have a good year, we're not going to go up to the top 5. Because people are going to lose players.
If you're a Florida Gator fan and if you're a Florida Gator player and you've been on this roster for a couple of years, okay, and you look at the preseason top 25 and you see your name nowhere to be found, okay, man, that's a chip on the shoulder. That's time to say, you know what? You got to play every game. You got to play every game tough. You know what? You can't take anybody for granted. Yeah. You gotta take.
Sorry about that loss, Seaman Holes.
You gotta take every game like you're playing against number 1, and you can't take anybody for granted. The good thing for us is they don't think we're any good. They don't think we're top 25 material. Fine. So this team has got to say, get the chip on the shoulder and let's get going.
You saw that recently the head ball coach predicted that we would win 8 to 10 games.
Yes, he did.
And the head ball coach has not exactly been in Napier's corner, especially recruiting-wise, but I think even he sees the roster that he put together is impressive. So let's get into let's wind up episode 1, introducing Mike and Pops with the future. The future, we just kind of mapped it out. I think it's very, very dependent on what happens this year. And I don't think that's hyperbole. I think I have not, and having said that, I've got a lot of hope. I have not been this excited, Pops, realistically excited for some big-time wins since 2009, which was Tebow's senior year. Ever since then, it's been a roller coaster of emotion, recruiting hits and misses, losses when we should have won. Yeah. Just up and down all over the place. This season, I believe, as it should be, is make or break for Billy Napier. Florida Gator football will be back at some point, but if we have a good year this year, we're right on the doorstep of being competitive immediately. If we go 4-8 or something, we're starting all over.
I agree with you 100%, and I think independently we both came up with 8-4. We didn't talk about it ahead of time, so we both thought the same way. As I said before, the biggest problem that we've had in the past is we don't have a deep bench. And if one of our stars got hurt, we were in deep trouble. You can look at the quarterback situation. We've been in trouble the last few years until we got Mertz. Okay, now
we got injuries, we got suspensions, we got guys kicked off the team. We've had all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, AR couldn't stay healthy, and he's got the same problem in Indianapolis right now. So here's the thing. I feel really comfortable, and you said it a number of times already today, with the recruiting that he's done and the portal he's done. This roster he has right now can play, we're going to see, against pretty much anybody. And I think that, it's his coaching style now that's got to come into play to make sure that we're ready, we're focused, and we play every game to the highest level we can, no matter who the hell we're playing. Because sometimes we play some of these teams that we know we should beat, and we let them score at will. And I'm tired of that. I think that we have to show every single game, and we have to be on top of it. But I have confidence that you do that we will have a hell of a year.
Yeah, and Billy's an offensive mind. Billy came in as an offensive mind, but he certainly addressed the defense both in recruiting from high school and the portal with Joey Slackman, a defensive tackle from Maine, I think. He's up in the Northeast somewhere. He got a linebacker. He got two solid cornerbacks. He got that safety I'm talking about. So, the future for 2024, in my eyes and your eyes, this is going to be one of the few times we agree completely on something, is bright for the Gators. So we're going to wrap up episode 1 here. Keep in mind a couple things. Chomp Time Podcast, we are going to have 2 episodes per week. This was just an introduction, which we'll release on tomorrow, which is Tuesday. So this is releasing on Tuesday, my birthday. Happy birthday to me. I'm 49 years old. We're going to have one on a Tuesday every week and Friday every week. So this Friday, we are going to break down. They're all going to be about half an hour, about 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes. I think that's the wheelhouse for podcasts and people on their way to work. They can either listen to the whole thing or maybe listen half and half on the way to work and way back. So right around 30 minutes. Friday, we're going to break down the Florida-Miami game and what we think is going to happen there. So every Friday, we'll be breaking down the games about to be played on that Saturday. And then the Tuesday, we'll be going over what happened in the game. There's going to be a lot of recapping and a lot more emotion than we saw in episode 1. We are low key right now. We're at about 4 right now.
We both show our emotions on our sleeves. So when the season starts, we are not homers. We are critical when we have to be, and we'll pat them on the ass when they're doing well. Okay, but here's the deal: we're not homers. We're going to tell it the way it is.
Yep, it's going to be fair as fair can be. We're going to go over the top with how well we like what somebody did. We'll also go over the top. We're not going to get into personal attacks, hopefully.
No, sir.
We're going to tell it like we see it. We're not going to sugarcoat things. We are Gator fans, and that should bring out the best in this podcast, is telling it how it is. The truth, buddy.
You got it. Chomp
so on that
time.
note, I'm just going to – it's chomp time. We're going to end with this little bit of optimism. The leader of this football team, I think – probably you'd say so as well, and most of the team would actually say, is Graham Mertz. The guy came in as a transfer from Wisconsin, ballyhooed, coming out of high school, didn't measure up at Wisconsin. Billy Napier went after him right away, and he came in right away, and most of us were, this is the guy. There was a bunch of other guys in the portal at quarterback. This is the guy you chose. He succeeded in his first year. He outperformed what we all thought he would do in his first year, probably outperformed what Napier thought he would do. He is brimming with confidence right now, and he has come out in the press and said, in regards to the tough schedule, that's the schedule I want. That's why I come to Florida. That's why all these guys go to Florida, to play the best teams week in and week out. Bring it on, he says. I love it, from our leader saying, bringing it on, not shying away. I want to play the best. We'll take our guys against your guys. We'll play it on the field, see what happens. I'm saying an 8-4. You're saying 8-4. Let's get it done, buddy. So all until right, Friday, this is Mike. That is Pops. We'll see you on Friday. This was Chomp Time. Go Gators.
Go Gators.